Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
Will you acknowledge that there's no policy page on her website? And so how do people
when
know
did we
what she
start
really
caring
stands
about
for?
policy pages on websites when every single time every time she steps to the podium, she talks about her policy in such a direct way?
She's been the acting president for 3.5 years in this country, and her citizens are suffering. She should not be feeling joy. She should be feeling shame. And she should be looking herself in the mirror and asking how she could do a better job.
Kamala sits down for her Comfort Couples Bring Your Governor to Work Day therapy session with Governor Walz and Dana Bash, who is a very rabid anti-Trumper who does not like him at all and was ashamed and disappointed that the Supreme Court kept him on the ballot. Remember that situation? Well, she brought in her friends Kamala and Tim Walz, and they sat down together for this little conversation. It's only been 5 weeks since this entire campaign started when she was cooed in there. They stabbed Joe Biden in the back like Brutus, and then she is now in charge. Well, for some reason, she couldn't do it alone. This historic figure who is so competent and capable that she can lead America through all our turbulent times in the world is now bringing in her emotional support governor. I was expecting to see a little vest around him that said service animal, service vice presidential candidate. I'm allowed to be here. He's allowed to be here. I have my paperwork. He's got a vest on. Don't touch him. All right, so they show up here, and what's so shocking about this very first question that comes out of Dana's mouth that they've clipped for us here, I don't know if this was the opening question. The first question from Dana is for Kamala that they released to us. It's a multiple choice. Listen to this. She goes and says, Kamala, look, it's going to be very complicated for you. I'm going to give you a couple options here. Option A or option B? Can you just pick one, please? Just don't screw it up. Please don't screw it up. I'm going to give you two choices. Option 1 or option 2, Kamala. Don't screw it up. Here's CNN going after it today.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed.
Okay, so you see what she's trying to do is take the high road, right? Nothing has actually changed about me. It's just the implementation of all my policies are totally different. I wanted this, and now I don't. But I'm the same person, so I understand it strategically. What's so problematic about this clip, beside the fact that she's referring to deadlines around time, which are usually how you schedule deadlines around time, but we're glad she clarified that for us. So it's a interesting exchange. There's one other one that came out, and CNN posted 2 of these saying that they're going to be releasing this later in a wide-ranging first interview. How long was it? Wide-ranging first interview. These propagandists are insane. It was 18 minutes is what we're being told. The US VP says she'd name a Republican for her cabinet, and she brushes off Trump's attacks. She explained why her positions have changed, and then I'm presuming she got away with that, right? She didn't zoom in on this. Well, tell us about the difference in fracking, because one value is about saving the planet, the other's about, I guess, creating jobs. You said it was never going to happen, never fracking anything except Willie Brown. Hey, but it's a non-starter, and then suddenly it's a starter. So how do your values change? Can you describe those values? What is that? Now here's that second clip from Comrade Kamala, clipped from Curtis Hoop. He shared this one. CNN also had this clip posted.
You had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone in mind?
I would. No one in particular in mind. I got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
Okay, so that's very curious. As far as we know, about like 96% of her staff was turned over during her VP term. And so part of the diversity is having no staff for long terms, new people constantly, because no one wants to stick around and be involved in it. So it's another stupid question. Would you appoint a Republican? And they're trying to combat the Kennedy endorsement and the Shanahan endorsement and the confirmation from Jill Stein and Cornel West that the DNC and the Democratic Party are cheaters and bullies. And it's not just Trump saying that. $10 million invested by RFK to defend himself. Jill Stein can't even get on the ballot because these people are sick. So Kamala is out there, and that is what we see from CNN, those two excerpts. Jason Miller, who of course is someone who is a senior advisor over for President Trump, as you see here at Jason Miller in DC, a follow for good information about what's happening from the Trump campaign. He says, we're hearing that CNN is not going to be releasing the full transcript of the 18 minutes total of the interview with Kamala Harris and human blocking dummy Coach Walz. What's being cut out of this interview? It's probably the Venn diagram talk, I would have to guess. Or the unburdened by what's been burdened in your burden. You know, whatever that one was. That's one of her other lines. So the full interview will be out, and I'm sure there will be a lot more reaction to that. But CNN has released those clips. Here's what they tell us. They say Kamala offered her most expansive explanation to date on why she's changed her position on fracking and immigration. Right. Telling CNN on Thursday her values haven't shifted, but that her time as vice president provided new perspective on some of the country's most pressing issues. Trump's race jab. Now, so I guess they asked about her. How does it feel to be attacked by Trump, by a racist bigot Trump? How does it feel, Kamala? Tell us about it, says Dana. Very hard-hitting question. Says Harris said that she would name a Republican to serve on her cabinet if elected. She's also brushed off Trump's questioning of her race and others. Apparently, a lot of people are asking that question, not just Trump. We've seen the man on the street interviews from Don Lemon. He's out there even talking to people, you know, even in various locations throughout the country. It's a repeat question. The full interview with Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, their first will air tonight. And so that's what happened there. Now, we also are seeing that there is a shift afoot out there, and this is catching a lot of attention right now. So you're seeing this, Fox News and CNN, a lot of other people are pulling this one out. They're saying, uh-oh, there's a little bit of a shift happening here. From the Silver Bulletin, this is from Nate Silver. He said, you know, there's a weird update today. Weird. Harris ticked up slightly in our national polling average, but she lost ground in our forecasts and is now under 50% versus Trump. Oh, that's weird. Now, one reason for that is the model's convention bounce adjustment, which affects the forecast, but not the average. Weird update indeed. Here's what the report says. It says, all right, last update as of Thursday, 12:30 p.m. says, look, although we wouldn't advise worrying too much, right, because the left flipped out about it. They had Kamala up 52-48, Kamala on top of the election. One way versus a 48-52 race the other way, where Trump's winning. Says it's not a big difference, okay, so don't freak out. Now, this wasn't a good day for Kamala, though, in our model, as Donald Trump is now the slight favorite for the first time since August 3rd. Dun-dun-dun. Now, there's one big reason for that, he says, Pennsylvania, which is the tipping point state more than 1/3 of the time, and where it's been quite a while since we've seen a poll showing Harris leading. There are two new polls today showing a tough time there in Pennsylvania. Now, the model is also applying a convention bounce adjustment to Harris's recent numbers, who has made gains in national polls, and you could argue about whether that's the right assumption or not. But the bottom line is that the model has the Electoral College and the popular vote gap opening up again, right? So Trump wins in the Electoral College, but loses the popular vote. And you're seeing a lot of the polls are talking about the popular vote. It's kind of those top raw numbers, but it's about the states, not necessarily the popular vote. That's why we have an electoral college, because we're not a direct democracy. Now, there's now a 17% chance that she wins the popular vote, but not the electoral college, is what the model estimates. So they say, look, let's cut to the chase, all right? Who's going to win the election? Well, honestly, we don't know, but we can give you our best probabilistic guess. Now, this is the landing page for where these will be. It will always contain the most recent data. The Silver Bulletin polling average are a little fancy. They adjust for all these different things. And so who's ahead in the polls? Kamala Harris is ahead in the polls, but again, we're talking about popular votes, not necessarily the states. And then Pennsylvania, right? Trump is right behind in a lot of the polls, but when they adjust their models, apparently Trump is winning. Stranger things have happened. Most elections are close, and a candidate is rarely out of the running. So here's how our model translates, and they're just going to keep, talking about it. So interesting, right? Trump, and we've been saying this here for a long time, that the Kamala climax is going to go bye-bye at some point. They're all going to stop, relax with themselves, themselves. They haven't been touched by a politician in 3.5 years. They've had Joe Biden, and he's been sniffing everybody. All the Democrats have been awkwarded it out. It's been very strange there in D.C. But now Kamala's here. She's a little less weird, I guess, maybe. And the Democrats are very excited. But once people get to hear from her, they're going to learn that she's not capable of leading our great nation. In fact, she's not even capable of talking to a high school class. She showed up at a school somewhere in Georgia talking to Georgia high schoolers. They were there at Liberty County High School, and listen to this. She was sharing her thoughts on leadership and teamwork, right? People were calling this painful to watch. It's pretty brutal. Walz, a former high school teacher and coach, began the visit on Wednesday. He discussed the importance of education, telling the students they're the future, then introduced Harris as a really great head coach and the next president. And so here was Jen Psaki. And so these people are talking about how amazing Kamala is and all the things. But here's a little bit of the actual event.
But all of this is part of doing something bigger. And I think having us in here stressing why the vice president says it often, that education is the key to the middle class, a pathway to the middle class, and it should be burdening you with debt to give you an opportunity to get there. So I think when we can get into a public school like this,
hey, clearly high school
see you and tell you it's not just the teachers here to tell you they know they do this work. It's not a cliche. This is truly about building towards the future, and you're that future. And so we're in a room like this. It lifts everybody's spirits, it lifts the country's spirits. And the Vice President talks about that often, about the positive and the joyful work that we can do and the things that we're trying to make sure happen. So I'm just grateful that you'd have us here. I'm grateful to be part of a team with a really great head coach here and our next President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
So, I've been hearing about you incredible young leaders for quite some time, from the players to those who are bringing joy to everybody in the stands, to the music that you guys are creating. And so we wanted to come by just to let you know that our country is counting on you, all of you. You are leaders. By the very fact that you all are here in this room, doing what you do at this incredible school, doing it as one big team, understanding all of the different parts that fit together to create a team. You are doing some of the best work any leader can do. And we're so proud of you. And we're counting on your generation. All that you guys stand for, everything you have at stake is what is going to propel our country into the next era of what we can do and what we can do. And I want to say to you that you must always lead as you have chosen to lead. Understanding you don't have to ask anybody's permission to lead. And I think you all figured that out. You've decided to be a leader. And in doing that, you are also role models. Welcome to the Role Model Club. And being a role model, right, means that there are going to be members of your family, people who live in your neighborhood, your classmates who want you to see, oh, that's how it's done. And in that way, you are showing what hard work can achieve, what discipline can achieve, what teamwork can achieve.
Wow.
And that's the stuff of great leadership, all of you. And so we wanted to come by to remind you that our nation is counting on you. We're so proud of you, everything you have achieved. And I will tell you, I was in a band when I was your age. So I know a little bit about, I coach about the players, right? And all that you all are doing, it requires a whole lot of rehearsal, a whole lot of practice, long hours, right? Sometimes you hit the note, sometimes you don't.
All right. First of all, watching this, I feel like Governor
cutting.
Walz still seems like the teacher who just has a huge speaker that he's presenting to his classroom.
Yeah,
He's
they're
looking
cutting away from that. They're like, can someone cut that, please? She's drunk again. No one knows what she's talking about. In fact, those kids are going to renounce their citizenship and all move to Europe. They're like, you know what? I have been thinking about going abroad now. Yeah, we're out of here. Actually, we're out of here. Trip to Europe. We're out of here. Backpacking around Europe. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Yeah, we're not going to be a part of this situation. This lady's nuts. And you see that there are new numbers over from places like Holly Market. The liberals were very excited about this. They were spreading this all around about, 2 weeks ago. After Kamala had the bounce and the DNC had the bounce, she's ahead all day. So we're going to have this. There's going to be a back and forth. This is an election. But Trump's ahead right now. And so eat it, libs. And so we're enjoying it right now. Now, I'm sure it'll change at some point. Probably not, actually. As more and more people get to know Kamala, I think this is going to continue to go down. And we're thinking by mid-September, all of their climactic excitement will have been spent. Probably. They are, interesting people. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on all of that. Now, as the interview comes out and as more interviews continue to hopefully get scheduled with Kamala, when she has the courage and the capability to actually do one alone by herself, here are some questions that might be useful to ask of her if Dana doesn't want to give her any more multiple choice questions. Is it option A or is it option B? Well, I'd like a different answer. No, just pick one or else you're going to lose the election. Here are some questions that came from Nick Gilbertson over at Breitbart. Here's a question for Kamala. Hey, Kamala, you know, price controls generally result in shortages. Are your price controls proposals for groceries? Are they going to create empty aisles and shelves? Yes or no? If you give every first-time home buyer $25,000, won't that raise every home by $25,000? Would a 28% corporate tax rate, as your campaign has pushed, drive more American businesses abroad or not? Why have you changed your position on fracking? Does this undermine the green agenda that Biden and Harris have embraced? You haven't visited the border yet. Have you visited the border yet? If not, why not? I think she would say yes, she did. Do you support her border wall? Because it's in your campaign ads. Does immigration raise housing costs and rent? Or do the immigrants bring houses with them? Do you support decriminalizing illegal entry into the United States, as you've mentioned previously? Your party has claimed the mantle of, quote, defending democracy, but no one ever voted for you. So is that democratic? How do you reconcile this message of freedom, Kamala, when Zuckerberg said that your administration actively pressured Facebook to censor Americans? Oh, here's some good ones. Oh, this would be a good one for her. Do you see Israel as immoral? That question will never be asked. Would you do anything differently than Joe Biden to negotiate the release of the Gaza hostages? Her brain would explode. If not, why do you think the same policy has failed under Biden would work under you? What would you do differently? These are like real questions. You have said the United States will support Ukraine. You said as long as it takes. What are your plans to continue aid to Ukraine? Does this mean sending taxpayer dollars to Ukraine for all 4 to 8 years of your presidency if you think it's necessary? Yes. Is there a fixed limit in your mind of how many U.S. taxpayer dollars should go to Ukraine, or is it really as many tax dollars as it takes? It's that latter. It's the same policy as the Republicans, though, so as the GOP. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not their money. It's your money. And who gives a damn about you? Donald Trump and Zelensky have long-standing productive relationship and similar backgrounds as entertainment figures. I don't know if that's really a great question. Questions for Walz. Hey, Walz, you lied and misrepresented your military service. Can you tell me about the false claim that you carried weapons of war in war? You want to give us some details about why you said that? You ran a hotline for Minnesotans to report their neighbors who violated your lockdown orders. How is that compatible with your stupid catchphrase called mind your own damn business, which is obviously not what you do at all? Do you think parents should have a legal say in whether their minor children are put on hormone blockers or given irreversible transgender surgery, or should the state intervene to stop the parents from objecting so they can just neuter your children? And do you have any regrets about the fact that your city got burnt to the ground, engulfed in flames, or were you cool with that? And your wife happy with the smoldering hopes and dreams emanating through the neighborhood? She opened her windows to get a big whiff of it. Now, more questions are out about Kamala's actual policies. Does she have any? No. Are they on her website? No, they're not. Do they care? No, because most of the people in the media are covering up for them. But this was a great question and an interjection by Fox News. Let's listen.
$540 million raised, $82 million in 1 week.
But will you acknowledge that there's no policy page on her website? And so how do people
when
know
did we
what she
start
really
caring
stands
about
for?
policy pages on websites when every single time every time she steps to the podium, she talks about her policy in such a direct way that voters are responding. Those are the people
that
that
border policy is?
Say it one more time.
Can you tell me what her border policy is?
Oh, she said on day one she would sign the bipartisan border legislation that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump has taken credit for killing or not getting across the...
What's her policy on fracking?
She's going to introduce that.
Her anonymous staffers
so we don't know.
So her interview tonight should give her the opportunity to share whatever policy agenda she wants, and as the process goes along, she will continue to do.
No, she's not going to say anything about her policy agendas. We're hearing from CNN. They asked her multiple choice questions. Did you change your position because you're a political hack? That was option B. Or because you have more experience? That was option A. And she said kind of option A, but I have values, and then talked in gibberish for the remainder of that short little segment. So when has anybody cared about policy positions on websites? Since forever. It's about policies. You don't get to govern a country on hope, joy, and abortion. Takes a little bit more than that. We got to know what else you think and care about. So there's a kerfuffle that's continuing to happen about this debate that's coming up. ABC News is rejecting Kamala Harris's last-minute attempts to change the rules. And these people are so hypocritical, it's incredible. They were very upset with Trump. He said, I didn't agree to a September 10th debate with you people. I agreed to that with Joe Biden. You stabbed him in the back multiple times. Times threw him out a window. And now I'll set new terms with you. Then they threw a hissy fit. What's the difference? They want this timing. It's going to be right around the time early voting starts, right? This is a little bit later, so early voting should start. They'll get a couple ballots coming in. I think starts September 4th, 6th, something like that. But the point is they wanted the date. They threw a hissy fit about this. Trump's trying to get out of the debate. He said, fine, weirdos. We were just trying to negotiate new terms with you. Here's 3 options for more debates. One with Fox, one with ABC, and one with NBC. Kamala will not do any of them other than this one because it's with her BFFs over at ABC News. But then they wanted to change the rules because they're little cheaters and they just got done ridiculing Trump for trying to change things. Now they want to change things. Typical. A network email reviewed by the Post lays out similar rules for those that Trump had during his June 27th debate with Biden. No audience, no pre-written notes, no props, and muted mics when a candidate is not speaking. Trump and Harris will be standing on the stage. They will only be allowed to have a pen, a pad of paper, and a bottle of water. No emotional support governors are allowed. The Republican campaign had insisted the debate follow the same rules as with Biden, but Harris's team claimed on Monday that they wanted both candidates' mics on the entire time, and they're throwing a fit about this too. They're saying, well, if Trump wants them on, put them on. A top Trump ally said ABC News had informed both campaigns in writing last week that it would employ the CNN rules, and both had confirmed that September 10th was a go. At this point, Team Harris is going to be taking an L when they finally accept, as the debate rules aren't changing, and they'll take an even bigger L if they back out of the debate because Dana Bash and CNN and because the interview goes poorly, that person said. Now, the email that was seen by the Post was sent Tuesday by ABC News chief counsel Eric Lieberman. It reiterated the rules and asked the campaigns for their formal acceptance. After the Post reported on the ABC News email on Thursday, Harris spokesman Brian Fallon said the Democrats, quote, have been asked to accept Trump's request to have the muted mics. No, that was the original rule, but expressed frustration and said the Harris team remains in discussion with ABC on the final rules. They're so pathetic. Just agree to the rules. Your guy set them. You demanded that we have the September 10th debate. Now, our latest understanding is that even though Trump said Monday he would be fine with an unmuted mic, his handlers don't trust him to spar live, right? So they're trying to make this about Trump. They're trying to make and manufacture a reason to get out of this debate and are asking ABC to ignore Trump's comments and keep the mics muted, or else they will back out of the debate for a third time. It's like, you guys are being really weird now. You know what the rules were with Biden. You're trying to change them, and you're trying to say that Trump's trying to change them? We've been asked to accede to Trump's handlers' wishes on this point. For the sake of preserving the debate, we find the Trump team's stance to be weak and remain in discussion with ABC on the final rules. They're so pathetic. ABC News has not responded to repeated requests for comments. The Harris folks are completely full of it, said the Trump campaign. Jason Miller said everything was agreed to and set last week. The Harris people are trying to distract and come up with something shiny to move away from the fact that she's not doing interviews. So they're trying to make this Trump refuses to debate thing again. I'll debate you 3 times. Why don't you debate me on NBC and Fox? Now, it's widely been reported that Harris wants the microphones unmuted so she can say, I'm speaking. Yeah. She did it with Mike Pence, and that made her kind of seem as a sexist or something. Both debate stage quotes were later used on pro-Harris campaign merchandise, right? I'm speaking is what she said. And there was some other line that she said. We want you to speak. You're terrible at it. So we want you to do an interview. Why don't you come speak to an interview? Why can't you last more than 18 minutes when you're talking with a fake journalist? It's not that complicated. So they're pushing back. ABC said candidates' microphones in their statement from CNN will be live only when it's their turn to speak. And it's going to be muted when time belongs to another candidate. The rules have been accepted, and Kamala's people are throwing a fit because they're not good at talking. Now, one person who's out there explaining that Kamala has been the vice president and maybe de facto president, since Joe Biden is a vegetable, for 3.5 years. And her record speaks for itself. Now the American people are getting to know her. Here's what J.D. Vance said out at a campaign rally.
For 3.5 years. And let's be honest, she's practically been the acting president because we all know Joe Biden isn't home. She's been the acting president for 3.5 years in this country, and her citizens are suffering. She should not be feeling joy. She should be feeling shame. And she should be looking herself in the mirror and asking how she could do a better job. And what we have in our campaign, it's not this fake joy of Kamala Harris. It's the very real hope that the best days of this country are ahead of us. And you know why the best days of this country are ahead of us? Because of you. Because we have the best people, we have the best workers, and we have an American president, Donald J. Trump, that is going to run and fight for you. He's going to work for you every single day. But if we want an American president who is equal to the task, and we want an American leader who deserves to be the leader of this great country, it's not going to happen if we sit on our rear ends. We're going to have to work for it. And so what I want you to do is get out there and tell every person you know why you're voting for Donald Trump. Get your friends and your family to the polls. Drive, your elderly folks, your mom, your dad, get them to the polls. Do everything that you can. Because while the corrupt media and the bureaucrats and the people who have gotten rich off of American decline, they have chosen their candidate, and it's Kamala Harris. We are the American people, and our candidate is Donald J. Trump. Let's get him across the finish line, and let's do it together. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, JD. Nice statement, and I think he's right. We have to get out and vote. We've got to get people to the polls, and we'll be doing that aggressively. So, Kamala Harris blows the debate, blows the interview, can't hardly talk, even when given multiple choice questions. That's who the Democrats have selected for their nominee.